Today, we're going to talk about the fear of the unknown. We know a lot of people right now are experiencing high degrees of the unknown. And the intention of this podcast episode is to help you redefine your relationship with the unknown and see it for what it really is, which is just an abundance of opportunity to change in a positive way. Now that sounds nice. We don't come here from the mountaintop conquering our fear of the unknown. These are just things that we've been learning and even discussing presently in our own life that have been helping us. It's been a big year of change, this 2023, has it not?
Yes.
Yeah. And anyway, the first thing we want to say and remind you all is that if you are experiencing the unknown and the sometimes paralyzing fear of the unknown that comes along with it, it's a good thing. People that are not living at the threshold of their full potential don't ever really experience the unknown. They don't really experience that fear because they've created a little box in which they can live that's sort of predictable and familiar and not that scary, but as a lot of us have learned in our own life, not that fulfilling, not that rewarding. There's no growth. There's no expansion. There's no wisdom. It's not really, it's almost like avoiding the point of life, which is to change and grow.
Yeah.
So if you are tuning into us right now and you're like, oh my God, I'm in the unknown, I'm scared shitless, good. That means you're one of the people who are really going for it. One of the people that have decided, I'm not content with business as usual, going along the flow with the grain of society. There's something more out there for me, and by God, I'm going to find it. And what comes with it is a lot of change, a lot of scariness, and a tremendous amount of being almost pushed into the unknown. And all we can tell you from where we're standing here is things that we've learned to deal with the unknown, to redefine the unknown, and to make very good use of the unknown.
Yeah. To navigate it in a good way.
Yeah. So the first thing we'll say is that when you are in the unknown, even though it is scary, it forces you to think outside of the box. It invites in inspired ideas. And remember we were talking about, you want to share what we were talking about earlier about when we closed down our businesses and then what we did after that? I figured I'll give you a chance to talk. I've been talking the whole time.
Okay. Well, which part? Because we talked kind of a lot about that. So,
well, whatever you feel inspired to share about that's relevant to what we're discussing.
So Victor had his 2 businesses that he had closed down and completely just was done with them. And he was at a point of complete breakdown, and
I wasn't handling the unknown very well.
No. And I just said to him, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you. We can get through this together. But on the inside, I was scared shitless. And he said, just, let me be. And I said, okay. And I left and I went up to our room and I just started crying. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I literally just prayed, God, angels, universe, everything that is holy, please give me the strength to get through this. Even if it's just for this moment, because we can't both be breaking down. Somebody's got to be able to steer the ship in a way and be grounded and supporting whatever decisions we choose. And it didn't go away. The fear didn't go away right away, but I did feel a little bit better. And then we got, days later, we got ideas to sell our house. And I mean, that was the information came, but the breakdown for us had to happen in that way in order for us to get to a place where we had no other option. We had no other option but to be strong and to stand firm in what what we were doing, even though we didn't even know what we were doing. We were just like, shit is hitting the fan, you know?
Yeah, but I would say one of the main takeaways from that story that we were discussing earlier is that it's okay to lean on other people. There were many times where I was literally like broken down, incapable of successfully enduring the unknown, but I had you to be strong, or at least to pretend to be strong, as you mentioned. And that's, even if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you're going through something like that, and this podcast is like, okay, there's people out there that understand what I'm going through, and it's okay to lean on other people.
Yeah.
I know that was a hard thing for me, because I really believe that, like, you know, enlightenment, it's found within. The spiritual awakening journey is a solo one. And on some level it is, of course, but it's a lot easier and less unnecessarily stressful when you just allow yourself and understand you're worthy, and it's okay to reach out and ask for help. And I did that with you many times. I've done that with our friends. You've done that with me during your times and your friends. And we've invested in coaches and joined like online programs.
Yeah.
We've become really quick to reach out for help. And it just makes the unknown, it makes change, it makes transformation way smoother.
Yeah, it's funny that we're even talking about this, because this was a topic that I talked about on our coaching group today. And you know, there's sometimes it's necessary to go inward and to do the work on your own, but you don't have to. And there's so many different groups and circles and different things that you can find to get the support that's needed, because even if you feel like you're alone, you're not. And it's okay to call on the people that are around you to help support, because I can guarantee you that they will understand what you're going through.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have I been in kind of a funk and you were like, honey, when's the next time you're going to Aaron's house?
Yeah.
Aaron's like my best buddy. Yeah. And whenever I go and see him, I always feel better because
I'm like,
he
are
gives
you
a
going
fresh
right now?
perspective. Yeah. But another element to the unknown, my friends, that was highlighted in Pattie's story is that it forces you to think outside of the box. It invites in inspired ideas. A lot of times we become trapped in these like loops and these patterns of not just living, but also thinking. And we can't, when we are so immersed in this like familiar loop, see anything outside of it. So sometimes we need to kind of plunge ourselves, or we sometimes just find ourselves plunged into the unknown. And yeah, it's scary. But then you're almost like you have to think of alternatives that are not necessarily born from that familiar loop. And that's what happened. I felt guided years ago to quit my businesses without having any clear idea of how I was going to support the family. And then I had a freak out. I leaned on Pattie. And then about a couple of days later, we both had this shared idea that we could sell our house. And we looked it up online. We saw we'd make a little bit of money from what we paid, not a lot, but enough to buy a very small travel trailer that we could live in. And that would really allow us to cut down expenses. And I know that sounds like a massive downgrade, but for us, that actually came as a very inspired and exciting idea. And we were so stoked and happy about it.
And it was actually an upgrade.
I agree.
Even though like it seemed like a downgrade on paper and didn't make sense. And all our families were like concerned, like, what are you guys doing again?
Yeah.
You know, but it was beautiful. We got to live near the beach, and we spent a lot of time together as a family, and you know, we got to see like something really beautiful come out of all that, you know. Yeah,
it was a total upgrade. And another cool thing we realized is being without a lot of the material comforts we once had. After like a couple of weeks of adjusting, we settled into kind of a normalcy. It became like our new normal that was no less than what it was before. But what we gained was an incredible amount of freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom in our life, freedom to do the things that matter to us in our life, freedom to be our real selves. Mm-hmm. And it was phenomenal. And none of that would have come from our safe little structured box that we had constructed around ourselves. We had to go through the unknown.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to touch on is something I know most people are like, if they're anything like me anyway, desperately seeking as kind of a cure or antidote to this fear of the unknown. And people want clarity. If I just know what's coming, if I just know what's coming next, if I just know what to do, then I can relax. But as you may have well discovered, it doesn't really work that way. We don't always know the way. And even if we do, we're still changing, and then there'll be new question marks on the horizon that we're trying to figure out and gain clarity on. So what we've learned is we don't really need clarity as much as we think. And even if we like it, it doesn't tend to come until we actually need it in the moment. What we do need and can utilize right now is trust. Trust. That one thing that we have learned is when we have followed our intuition, in spite of, through the fears, into the unknown, it always works out at some point in a very significant and worthwhile way to make the entire journey, even the tumultuous emotional component of it, completely worth it on all levels.
Yeah. Yeah. We just came back from Costa Rica and had our plant medicine retreat. And there was a lot of unknown and variables that were happening. And I was feeling very like defeated and feeling very like, I just don't understand what is happening. I don't understand this. And ayahuasca just said to me so sweetly, you don't have to understand. You just have to be patient and trust. And I was like, okay. But it's true though. Like even in like all of the things, you know, that we've just already shared, we didn't understand anything. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't even know why or how. We knew nothing, but we knew what we needed to know in order to take the next step.
Yeah.
And sometimes the next step is a little baby step, and sometimes it's a big leap. And you just have to trust that that's going to work out, because it always does. And even if you take the leap and it seems like it failed, right? I like to do these like quotes like it failed. But it's not that it failed. It just was a lesson that you needed to learn. And from that point, then you can take another step and say, okay, maybe that didn't work out the way I had hoped, but I learned a lot from that situation. And it makes it easier to move forward when you're constantly in this state of reflection of like, you don't need to understand it, but you're going to learn from it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a theme we've realized as we've gone through big upgrades. And the retreat she just mentioned is a really good example of that, because we've done now 8 plant medicine retreats in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. It originated a couple years ago between me, Patty, and Aaron Dowdy. It was an inspired idea to start organizing these ayahuasca retreats in Costa Rica. And they've been just a unspeakably beautiful part of our life. They really have just been, it's only been a few days, so I'm still like, it's so fresh. I could get emotional just thinking about it. But anyway, leading up to this recent one we just got back from, there was more like challenges, problems, breakdowns, and it became so stressful, so exhausting, so many things just going wrong. And it was like, why is this happening? And we all, at least I went into this retreat thinking this is just the universe saying it's time to move on. I was convinced because of all the problems we had.
I was not.
Yeah, well, you're discouraged at times.
I mean, yeah, there's a level when things go from being really, really gentle and smooth. I mean, it was a smooth sailing for like 2 years. And then it was like we hit like a dirt road, and it was pretty bumpy, and it all worked out. Everything worked out. We learned a lot. Mostly like how to communicate, you know, as a side note. But, you know, I like to look at it as, instead of them being like challenges and problems, as like opportunities for growth and self-reflection.
They were. That's exactly what they turned out to be. Even one of the medicine people he gave us this like cleansing at the end. I won't say his name, but he gave us this cleansing at the end. And then he gave us like a little speech. He gave us little pep talks. He kind of knew what was going on. And I forgot how he put it, but he made it sound like with these types of things, problems that arise are really just opportunities to fine tune things and do them better. And we just happened to be going through a phase where we attracted a tremendous amount of these little challenges. But anyway, I remember the last day of the retreat when me and you and Ayla and Aaron were sitting around talking. It was amazing. It was like, it never ceased to amaze me how perfect it all was.
Yeah.
We had finally, I remember we were having this discussion around our final powwow at the end of the retreat, and we were just having breakthrough after breakthrough. Everything was smoothing out right there before our eyes. There was this awesome high vibe medicine music even in the background to perfectly mirror these breakthroughs. It was so magical. It's like, oh my God, the universe can really it knows how to deliver, man. And it was just another
and it's extra.
another reason to trust.
Yeah.
And even now, we don't have everything figured out. There are a lot of question marks, but we were reminded that when you follow your heart, you can trust, period. Yeah. Every problem is an opportunity. It's a solution. It's a way to do it better. And anyway, handling the fear of the unknown to close, for a lot of it, is just a matter of just choosing to trust.
Yeah.
Let's talk about now some of the side note, some of the secondary opportunities that come from being immersed in the unknown. One of the things I realized for myself is that because the unknown does affect me and can easily throw me into a fight or flight sort of place, it forces me to upgrade myself and my habits and my discipline. And I find that when I'm in the unknown, out of just a sheer necessity, I find myself meditating more often, deeper, longer, having a more structured spiritual practice, because even when I'm in the midst of change and things like that, a good dose of yoga can return me, at least temporarily, to a place of trust and faith and presence and a capability of handling the next thing in my life.
Yeah, I like to go on walks. Those, that for me is a really a really powerful tool when I'm feeling lost or stuck. I'll just go on a walk and I'll either listen to an audio book, or I'll listen to music, or sometimes I'll just not listen to anything and just let myself kind of process in my mind. And that's one of my favorite ways to get clarity and just feel better with the unknown.
Yeah, and also it's good to give yourself space, because another component of being in the unknown is that it's a great opportunity as well to learn a lot about yourself. We usually tend to go through a lot of growth. So I think having those walks and having space, you get to do a lot of your own sort of personal shadow work. I would say things are oftentimes triggered to the surface, so you can look at them and deal with them as you upgrade your life. It's almost like it'd be nice if I could just trust fully and have a smooth transition of these upgrades and changes. But I as I sit here and reflect on it, I feel like sometimes that anxiety does serve me, because it's we're in a pressure cooker. And even for this retreat, as an example, we learned a lot about just communication in general, just with all of the people in our life, loved ones. We realized we needed to upgrade that. We learned about some of our different fears, and we did I could go on at length, but so many different side note worthwhile epiphanies came as a result of this fear of the unknown.
Yeah. Everything has a purpose and everything has a place.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things have many purposes.
Yeah, and it's all for our highest good. And the things that are the fears and the things that challenge us, they're just there to make us better.
Yeah.
It's the universe's way of saying hey, we're just going to nudge you just a little forward so you can grow more. And be happier and live a better life, live a more authentic life, live the life that you really want to live. And
another thing that we were discussing is how, and this is a theme I've been learning myself, is upgrading the way I talk the way I like choosing my words wisely. What comes to mind is because when I'm experiencing the fear of the unknown, I tend to start like listing off all the potential problems.
Yes.
We're screwed because of this, this, and this.
And this is why, and this is blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And I worked myself up into a major frenzy. And I was learning like, wow, that really has a negative impact, Vic. That doesn't help you at all. And what comes to mind is my buddy Matt. He runs this workshop that involves, he calls it transformational language. And just here's a little example of it. He said what he would have his clients do, he'd say, everyone right now take a few moments and write down all the things you have to do tomorrow. Oh, okay, I have to get up, I have to brush my teeth, I have to, get dressed, go to work, we gotta feed the kids, gotta take them to school, gotta do all these things, right? And then he said, okay, now go through that list and change the words I have to I get to.
Yeah.
I get to wake up. I get to have nice pearly whites to brush.
Yeah.
I get to have beautiful children and a nice school to take them to. I get to. And then I think the third, then he takes it even further and says, I am so grateful to, or something like that. But anyway, same stuff, same circumstance, different word, dramatically different way we interpret that and feel about that.
Yeah. I mean, I really love that because that actually changed a lot for me personally. I had heard about that technique from, I think his name's Joe Vitale, like probably, 6 years ago or something like that. And it was a practice for me to switch the word problem from problem to challenge and have to get to. But once you get to that space, then it just all of a sudden it becomes natural, and it really does help. Our words have power. We know this. We are powerful beings just as human beings, and we are creating our own realities, and we're doing that with our words as well. And it's really a powerful tool to be able to change your vocabulary dramatically. It shifts your whole perspective,
Yeah, for sure.
He's getting on the train now.
I'm on the train. Is there anything else you want to add before we close this up?
No, I don't think so.
No. Awesome. Thank you, my friends, for listening and watching. Listen, if you're on YouTube, leave a comment down below. Let us know if there's any other topics you'd like us to discuss. And also, if you are listening on the podcast, leave a review if you could. That, for one, helps the podcast reach more people. And also, within that, you can also give your suggestions of topic ideas that you'd like us to talk about as well. So anyway, thank you, my friends. I know it's been a long time. We are recommitted to the podcast. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Mwah.